Well, hey, everybody, welcome to the next episode of Off the Fence. We have a guest with us, obviously, the one and only Joe Sangl. Joe, customary for us, we pick a food, a drink, something that people will often say, hey, that's my favorite, or I'm not sure what to pick. And we thought, since we're going to talk about marriage and money, that we should go like budget stuff. And so classic budget. Yeah. Frozen pizza,
Frozen pizza. Come on.
Frozen pizza.
Are these different types of pizzas sitting in front of me?
I believe there are three different makers.
Okay.
All of them are pepperoni pizza.
Okay.
You can eat as much or as little as you want, but the only commandment of this is that you do have to in the end say, this one is better. And then underneath the plates are who made the pizza. Don't look at that first.
Okay.
Okay?
That's
so let's
great.
do this, and we'll basically get to eat in the microphone, which is gross and disgusting.
I'm gonna keep mine away.
This one, do we evaluate it?
I think you can evaluate however you want.
Okay.
I mean, it can be appearance, it could be taste. So you can give initial thoughts. You can wait till all three. I don't know your personality in the sense of like, are you going to go one by one or all three? But
We have long sleeves, so we can napkin ourselves. You are gonna have to pull yours.
That's good.
You know, our Titus only uses his shirt as a napkin.
Yeah, that's excellent. Perfect.
So,
does he ever use your shirt as a
never
napkin?
mind, but always his.
Bo uses us as napkins.
He does. It's gross. And a tissue. We probably shouldn't talk about that while we're.
Man, I got to tell you, it's been a long time
Since you've had frozen pizza?
I've had frozen pizza. It's really good. Oh man.
There's a sauce component that I was not expecting that is going to differentiate for me. It's not the crust. It's the sauce.
They are uniquely different.
Well, and pizza, I think we all would agree, you got your own style you like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when you have more than one person in the household, it's kind of like a federal law that they will not like the same one.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so it's going to definitely be different.
Katie and I like different pizzas. She's a thin crust all the time.
Thin crust, I like boring stuff, like green peppers. I had thin crust with green peppers the other day. Huh.
All right. Any initial thoughts?
Well, one of them is definitely more like a thin crust and it's crunchier, far crunchier. And another one is distinctly thicker and has more sauce. That's some initial thoughts.
I know the DiGiorno because they are very good at marketing. And I knew it when I saw it.
See, that's what's like you look at this, one of them is DiGiorno.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. Like their thing is like, hey,
it shows that they're successful.
Our pizza is as good as something you're going to have delivered.
Well, these pizzas look like they were round too because they're wedges.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty sure one of these is not a Totino's, which are kind of like squares.
Yep.
You know Totino's?
I do.
Yeah. So I'm guessing one of these might be Tombstone and one of them might be DiGiorno's, but I don't know what the other one is.
What's your favorite one?
My favorite is the thinnest one. The crunchy
is it really?
one, for some reason, is my favorite. I'm going to look at it.
Let's look at it. Tombstone.
Is it really?
I think so.
I don't think I've had a Tombstone pizza since I was a teenager.
Oh, for sure. I don't remember the cost. Red Baron.
And the Red Baron
it.
crust is really, it's like buttery and good. I like DiGiorno, but I liked the Tombstone too. The sauce. I like the sauce on the Tombstone.
We are in unity.
Wow.
Tombstone, I think, is the best tasting. Even it's thin crust.
I don't think we've ever
good.
had Tombstone.
The only thing that DiGiorno, and this is what they get you, is if you like that kind of crust,
like
that's
the
where
fancy
DiGiorno
crust.
gets you.
Yeah, that's right. And I would just tell you, my dog would be very angry with me getting a Tombstone pizza because my kids won't eat like the thick end of the crust, and
So
the
the
dog gets to clean that up. And the Tombstone doesn't really have that because the pepperoni's all the way out to the edge.
Yep.
So my golden retriever would say that the DiGiorno's definitely needs to be the one we're cooking.
So I think this is personality, temperament kind of thing. But whenever I would cook when you cook a frozen pizza, not that you've done it for a long time, do you reorganize the pepperoni or do you just go with what showed up? What I've learned, I think I reorganized the pepperoni and I thought that was normal until I've seen that appears to be some OCD thing.
I have that OCD likeness, but the way it manifests for me is if we do a frozen pizza, we do have Totino's occasionally because it's just so easy. But DiGiorno's is my favorite normally. I've not even looked at the others. That tells me how good their marketing has been.
Yeah.
But I all the time think it doesn't have enough cheese on it, so I'm adding more cheese to it.
Yes.
So that's just what I do.
It makes you wonder, like, is that the majority? Are people like doctoring up their frozen pizzas?
Yeah.
Because they're like, it's fine. It's so cheap.
Well, but you can, when you order from a place, you get it a la carte. You get to do whatever you want to it. So it's kind of the similar thing. You're just in control. David, whenever we order pizza, always orders one too many.
I have a problem with that.
And he knows that, but he still does. So frozen pizzas may actually be a good way for us to go.
Like, I'm sitting there. I'm typically doing if we get pizza, I'll order it. And I'll order it through an app, and I'll usually look for the special, get the special, and then something in mind goes like, yeah, but that's not gonna be enough.
Yeah.
And I'm wrong every time.
Yeah, but there's a glorious thing if you have extra is you get to eat cold pizza.
I agree.
Afterwards, which is glorious.
So here's the quandary, though, it puts me in. With our new way of eating, you and I are talking about, so we went on a health kick, eating differently and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I've watched your journey on Instagram. It's been amazing to watch.
So
Very inspiring.
The problem, though, is a part of our makeup is there's a cheat day. And I know some people are like, oh, no, it's not cheating. No, there's a cheat day. So the problem is the next day when there's still pizza there, you go, but I want it. Does yesterday's order count? Is it still fall on the cheat day?
But we have enough kids now that they'll have it. My sister would always have a piece of pizza and a Pepsi for breakfast, which is wild because she was so fit and athletic, and it didn't seem to bother her. It's wild.
I don't think I've ever had Pepsi for breakfast ever.
It kind of sounds gross.
It seems challenging.
So all right. Now that we've made everybody hungry as they're watching or listening, and everyone's ordering pizza today.
Yes.
Everyone, if you're watching this before dinner or listening, everyone they're all ordering pizza tonight.
Is there a special code?
There should be. We should have come up with
Tombstone called Fence.
Oh yeah.
Tombstone at your
Type it in on the Tombstone website. Fence.
Well, thanks for indulging us. Okay, so here's what we want to talk about, and I think this will be helpful. I think most people know that marriages are not easy, and there's things that kind of get in the way and need to be discussed. One of them being money. And you're a friend of Fountain Springs Church, and we love spending time with you. And we thought, well, so let's talk money with Joe Sangl, but in relation to marriage. So one, you're a professional married person.
I am professional.
You are professional.
25 years this
That's
year.
awesome.
See, that's
Fired
awesome.
up.
That's awesome. So you've been married for a long time, and that's awesome. But you also know money. And I know that you also work with people on their individual finances and couple finances, and you just have enough conversations. So let's just shoot off on what have you seen create issues or be something, a hurdle, whatever you want to call it, for couples as they're navigating money, whether it be as they're preparing for marriage, in marriage. Just what comes to mind initially, and let's start off there.
Well, it immediately comes to mind because it's the number one issue. It's the number one ebook that we have downloaded. We give it away. I'll make sure it's provided here, and it's managing money with a non-participating spouse.
Oh, wow.
And it's where one spouse just chooses on purpose not to participate in the money side of things, including money conversations, budgeting conversations, dreaming about the future, investment decisions. They literally just kind of say, that's your job. You deal with it. I'm going to do my own thing.
Okay.
And that is the number one issue that we're contacted about is how do I get my spouse to join with me in this journey?
Have you seen people, or have you learned like, hey, here's what helps at least get off the fence on, okay.
Well, I've worked really hard to help get that person off the fence to say, hey, you need to get involved in this.
Cool.
And I have not found that there's a one size fit all solution, but I have said multiple times to our team, if we ever figure out the be all end all solution to this, we will become billionaires because it basically is saying, how do we get spouses on the same page?
Yeah.
And that is so challenging, but we've learned a few things. And what I have found very powerful, and to be clear, I used to be the non-participating spouse. So I feel like that's kind of me. I'm the spender. I didn't want to hear it. And I didn't want to do it because I knew what the budget was going to tell me. I knew what the conversation was going to tell me. It was going to tell me reality, which means I need to stop and knock that off. And I didn't want to hear it. And so what I found that helped me and what I've seen help quite a few couples is I want them to have their plans, hopes, and dreams conversation.
Okay.
Void of money, to not have money involved in it. Just say, hey, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, we're still living. What do we want to be doing with our life? And I always look at it as two types of dreams that people should think about. They should think about lifestyles.
Yes.
Where do we want to live? What type of house? Family type decisions. Things that are ongoing. They're you live in those decisions. And others are like moment based type, which is I want to go. You can check them off. I've done that. Been there, done that. I want to go to this concert in that city. I want to see that play. I want to go to Disney World. You know, those are moment type things. And to get those without kids present, when you're not tired, and I know a lot of people, you know, they're tired. And, you know, they woke up, they had a nightmare, they were a muffler on a car, they woke up exhausted. You know, I don't know if bad jokes are allowed here.
It's good.
But they're just exhausted. And I just tell them that is a bad recipe for good, healthy financial conversations. Kids and tiredness. So make sure it's a strategic time. And my bride, Jen, and I recently did this about 3 years ago. We said, it's time to dream again. Like so many of our dreams have been checked off. It's time to dream again. The first kid has gone to college. What does this look like? And we went through a list of about 20 plus questions.
Okay.
And I found that we could deal with about 5 questions a day.
Okay.
At the beach in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
No kids. And we do this stuff for a living. And it was still a challenging conversation.
Okay.
Real challenging.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was very healthy. And it brought to light new dreams, new hopes. And I think that that's something that would be very valuable for any person who has a spouse who's not on the same page. Have the dreams conversation. And then you have what I call the hook question. And that is, when you get done with all those dreams down on paper, say, if we keep managing money the way we are right now, will these plans, hopes, and dreams ever come true?
Okay.
And for me, that was the question that stopped me in my tracks. And I despise my answer.
We accidentally did this. This is like you're
awesome.
I mean,
When?
no.
How?
And I
Enlighten
tell you,
everyone.
Okay, so we've been married almost 19 years, and I would say we had our dream conversation like that. If I remember my timing right, maybe year 17. It was. I'd say it's closer to now than it was at the beginning.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And because the first season was we didn't have any money, so we didn't think we could dream.
Yeah, you're not allowed that.
It was like, what's the point in dreaming?
Survival.
And I think we had private hopes.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
you know, individually, like, I hope one day, or maybe, but it was like, hey, let's climb the mountain. But with no dreams, I think that gets exhausting. And anyways, we literally, so I created our budget. I'm the planner.
Okay.
I love to plot out.
Which
a
is
budget.
funny because he wasn't when we've like switched roles intermittently, but him sitting in the budget chair is really the best. But
Wow.
it's funny how we've kind of like gone back and forth through the
And I think
through the
seasons
marriage.
influence that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I love plotting, and I basically, you know, you love spreadsheets. So I decided I'm going to add a tab. Literally, I'm going to add a tab, and I wonder, isn't that good?
Don't talk like that. Getting all messed up over here. I'm fired up.
I'm going to add a tab, and like, hey, let's put some dreams on this tab. And who cares if they're realistic? I mean, and
Or
that's
even
what,
boring. Like
Yeah.
some of them are. We just don't want car debt. That's a dream.
right.
that was like we didn't want car debt. We want to do sometimes small things and big things. I remember when we were like, we need new carpet.
Yes.
That's a dream.
That's
we wanted
a
a
dream.
dream. We
Yep.
we want.
Yeah.
And I remember listening out, and it began to be like where we were winning together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like because it wasn't just fulfilling a dream. It was like together we Goliath this thing. We just beat this thing. And so there was a joy in it. But no, you saying that, I'm just going to affirm what you're saying. It was huge for us, and like reinstituted some fun in money.
Absolutely. And I saw a great, you know, you get on Facebook and you get sucked into the vortex. And I saw this great video from Michael Jr., the comedian.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how in his great comedy bits, he'll stop and talk to the audience. And there's a great one, you can look it up on YouTube, where he asked a guy, you know, can you sing? The guy said he was a musical director. And he's like, yeah, can you sing? He's like, give me a few lines of Amazing Grace. And he sings it really well.
Okay.
And then he says, okay, that's great. Now, I want you to sing as if, you know, you got shot in the back when you were a kid, right? And he gives all these horrible situations and scenarios, and that God's brought you out of it. Sing it as if that is your scenario. And man, he brought the house down.
Wow.
And he stops, and he says, let me tell you what just happened. The first time, you knew what you were doing. The second time, you knew why you were doing it.
Yes.
Awesome.
And I stopped in my tracks and said, that is exactly what is happening with couples who just went through what you just described. When the dreams show up on paper, before then, they knew what they were doing. They were trying to earn money, trying to put some money back. But when they get the dreams, they know why they're doing that.
Love it.
And that helps them stick to what is not really fun decisions. Telling yourself no and wait and maybe and later financially is not fun. But when you know why, it seals the deal.
It makes decisions for us, which I like. I like making a value decision that then has that by default then makes a bunch of decisions for me. Where if I'm driving by and I see this brand new awesome truck, I'm like, I love it. I'm going to circle around it. But I'm not pulled in like I used to be pulled in, because I'm like, I got a bigger dream than this.
Yeah.
This is a cool dream, but I got a bigger dream than that.
That's awesome.
And you can add it to the list.
Oh, well, I'll definitely add it to the list.
I think one of the things too that it's helping us really recover from. We have great parents, and they did a lot of really good stuff with money. But I think too, growing up, you just experience like the tension maybe in it. And so for couples, I know for us, that's one of the number one things I hear from couples is they're bringing in different expectations and even trauma.
Yes.
From finances. And so even listing stuff out has been healing. And it's really been actually cathartic to be able to go, we can set a goal and do it together and prioritize. And it just creates some guardrails, I think, too, and really helps us heal even from past experiences and expectations of money, which I think is just really great too. But you got to put it down and got to say what it is. And
that's excellent. And I would just say what you've just described, that trauma, we've given it this language. We call it money wounds.
Oh, yes.
And everybody brings them in from their upbringing, from previous experiences in that same marriage, right? And so those money wounds inform how we move forward. And what's really terrifying about them when I think about them is they can cause us to believe a lie as if it were true. The money wound informs us because people will say, I can't have a house. Nobody in my life has a house.
Yeah.
Well, they believe that to be true because no one in their life, it is true.
Yes.
But it is not true.
Right.
And so it's very important, that you have identified that and you writing it down and you get to start doing check marks. And it helps for me say, I think one of the reasons we feel compelled to do this is it helps us see the miracles that God is doing on our behalf.
Yeah.
If you didn't write it down, you may forget them.
Yep.
But when you're writing them down and you remember how you felt the day you wrote them down,
Yes.
and then you find yourself 2, 3, 4, 10 years later, and it's true, and it's even greater than what you ever imagined you could have done, you're like, how did that happen?
Yes.
And then it's just a 3-letter, 1-word answer. God. That's how it happened. It's awesome.
I love it. And I would say Katie and I have experienced, and I think most couples do, that one of the points of tension is going to be around money. So if you'll at least bring it up with each other, even if you don't have all the answers, like, hey, let's talk about this. Let's dream about this. And rather than let's start the conversation off with you're spending too much or I'm spending too much. And it's a combative, I think the dream sets you up for future, let's learn even how to talk about it.
Yeah. Aspirational, inspirational. Yeah. I'm an ordained minister, and so I do very few weddings, but I can do them. But when I do weddings, this is the phrase I love to tell the newlywed couple as I'm standing there and you get your 5 minutes or so to kind of say what you want to say. And I said, the very best each of you can do now, from now till you pass on, the best you can do is make 0 mistakes. That's the very best.
Yep.
What is the likelihood that's going to happen? That's 0 chance that that's going to happen. And I think one of the things in marriage, particularly when it relates to money, is we're dumbfounded when our spouse makes a mistake financially. And if you think about it, the reason we're dumbfounded is we can't believe that they made any mistake, but that's unrealistic. And so I
true.
tell them, when it happens, gather yourself together, take your walk, do your run, go yell into the pillow, whatever it is, and then rush to forgiveness. You have to do it. And keeping what we call short accounts, forgiveness, we're all going to make mistakes. We've all made money mistakes. You're going to make more money mistakes. I'm going to make more money mistakes. But if you write the dreams down, you're going to make far less of them. And you're going to have far less collateral trauma, which is wildly important.
Love it. Yeah. That's because we talk regularly that marriage when I do a ceremony, there's two. I give them a cross and a rock. And I was like, as a couple, if you want to know what marriage is about, it's about fighting Goliaths together. Like, go after this. Like, here's your rock. Like,
that's awesome.
Figure it out. Go after. And what's going to happen is both of you are going to screw up occasionally, so you're going to have to go to the cross together. Then, and you're going to have to figure this out, like grace and mercy. And I think when you don't talk about money and don't go after money as a couple, you're actually robbing from your relationship an arena of grace and mercy.
Wow.
That I think could then affect other areas where it all leaks onto each other. And I love it, man. I love it. So I'll just say my own insecurities with all this kind of stuff. So with money, I'm constantly wondering, am I doing the right thing or am I doing the wrong thing? Right thing or wrong thing? So with couples listening, or maybe it's just people going, one day I'm going to be married. What should I make sure that we do and that we don't do?
Yeah.
And nowadays, especially with crypto, with NFT, with retirement funds, with investing, with savings, could walk us through like some basics. Like, what are things that couples should be like? Couples, you really should be doing this.
Yes.
And you really, and maybe it's not what they shouldn't do, but what's less important?
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. And I find generally in couples, this is generally the case, one of them is more wired to the day-to-day management of money. So they're more driven to live by a budget.
Okay.
The other person is more big picture and more driven for the investing conversation. They think longer term.
Okay.
And it's good for whatever that is, just identify it and make sure that you lend an ear to hear what the other person's concerns are for their issues they like to deal with, the budgeting conversation, and that they lend an ear to yours in the areas so that you have that partner for life who knows everything there is to know about you, knows about your tendencies, who can give you feedback. And I know you know this, but brides get cuts in line to the Holy Spirit in this area. It is not fair. I don't know why. But when I go to my bride and say, hey, what do you think of this investment? She doesn't know any of the numbers. She doesn't know cash on cash return, total compound annual growth rate, price to earnings, dividend yield, beta. She doesn't know any of this stuff. She just goes, let me pray. No.
Wow.
And I'm like, the numbers are all right. And I've made the mistake. Bad husband, I would do it, and it doesn't work. And then she'll listen, do it. And when she says do that, it is blessed, highly favored. It's just going to work.
Wow.
Even if the numbers don't work. It's just really unfair. It really is unfair how you guys get these cuts in line, right? Is it weird?
I agree with you.
But what I would just say is I want to make sure it's not just right or wrong decisions. It's not as clear as that for a lot. So wrong decisions, pawn shop loans, payday loans. Don't do that. You will never get ahead. 700% interest, 300% interest. You will never, ever make progress. Running up credit card debt at 27, 28, 29, 24% interest. Running that balance, it's just going to set you back.
Okay.
Just don't do that. But what I would say is when it comes to investing, it's not as clear.
Okay.
And so what I would say is make sure you're diversified.
Okay.
Ecclesiastes 11:2 says invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land.
Okay.
What is Solomon writing? He's saying, hey, it's not all going to work out.
Yeah.
And Jesus, he's talking about sharing the gospel in the parable of the 4 soils. He talks about some of it throws on some stony soil and thorny soil and gets choked out. But man, there's one soil out of the 4 that's good. And it returns some 30-fold, some 60-fold, some 100-fold. And I always say, I don't care which of those 3 folds I get, but if I get one of those folds, it covers the 3 bad ones.
Yep.
And he's talking about sharing the gospel, and right, but he's using a real analogy that's an investing analogy. And so I just really want to make sure that when couples are having conversations about this, that they're diversified in their investment strategy,
Okay.
and that they think about not just one thing. So a lot of people will invest all their time, energy, and effort in a business.
Okay.
And they never invest any of it into a 401k or an IRA or similar type investment into the markets because they're just they're recapitalizing, putting all the money back in the business. And then 20 years later, that's their only investment, and the market changes, it shifts, a competitor comes in, and they're left with nothing because they were in one investment. So that's what I'd really encourage. Make sure it's spread around.
Okay.
Because know full well some of them will not work out. But if you do that and you put seed in the ground, the Lord will bless it, and you will do fine.
Love it. All right.
You mentioned crypto.
I did. I'm curious.
Ask me some questions about that, y'all.
Okay. Talk.
I don't even. I'm
What
like
is
a
crypto?
90-year-old
You're gonna
woman.
watch Katie kind of glaze over. Like,
I
what?
literally went, David. If we're gonna step into any of those pools, you're gonna have to carry that boat because
Okay.
Mama's sitting on the shore.
So let's talk about, because I think it's super unfamiliar territory for the majority. I'm going to guess, but for the majority of people, is crypto and even the NFT stuff that I am trying to get my mind wrapped around.
I thought that was an art thing until yesterday. So we're just.
Will you talk just like, this doesn't even have to be specifically marriage related. Just talk to us about all of that.
Yeah. So cryptocurrency, to tell everybody what it is it is both an asset, like gold, silver, real estate.
Okay.
It's an asset that can be bought or sold, and it's also a currency. So it can be used to purchase things.
Okay.
And so that really matters. And is it a real thing? Well, yes, it is a real thing. And the reason it is a real thing is because it is wildly secure. So some of you, if a lot of listeners are out west, they don't maybe remember in 2021, there was a hack of something called the Colonial Pipeline.
Okay.
And the hackers, they don't know where they're from, demanded $5 million in Bitcoin to give the codes back. This pipeline supplied gasoline and jet fuel to 13 mid-Atlantic states, including Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland.
Whoa.
And in 4 days, I lived in South Carolina, 4 days, there was zero fuel. None. No fuel.
I remember that. Okay.
Anywhere. And they paid them off in 5 million Bitcoin to get it back.
Wow.
And no one knows who did it. So no one knows who invented Bitcoin.
What?
Think about that. No one knows. This tells you how wildly secure it is. And so I believe even if Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies as a currency fall apart, there is wild value to the security component of it.
Okay.
And that's why there's considerable push to have a digital US dollar.
Okay.
Because of the encrypted nature of it. There are some negative parts about it. If you transfer Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency to somebody, there is no undoing that transaction. It is gone, gone.
Okay.
And so the government doesn't know how to regulate it because they know how to regulate currency, which is you can't have a currency that competes with a sovereign currency.
Okay.
They don't allow it. And or is it an asset? So the Securities Exchange Commission, they don't know what to do in the United States. China says you can't use it to buy or sell.
Okay.
Russia's starting to say the same thing. But you don't want nefarious criminal organizations shutting down critical services like fuel supply. Imagine a major hospital being shut down, and they shut down care for critically ill patients and say, you got to give us money to get your codes back.
Wow.
That tells me it's going to become highly regulated. But I do own some cryptocurrency.
Okay.
And so I bought some because Jesus said in Matthew 6:21, wherever your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And I realized if I didn't have money in it, I wouldn't pay attention to it. And so I put an amount of money that is the equivalent of a Happy Meal for me.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
It's more than a Happy Meal's worth, but
I got you.
But I put it in there, and I bought 3 of them. I bought Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin.
Okay.
And I have lost money. I've been up. I've been way up. I've been a little up, and now I'm back down at this moment. But I'm watching what's happening, and I'm watching how people are using it, seeing how people are using it as a buy-sell option.
Okay.
So it is a real thing. I do think it's very interesting. The reason cryptocurrencies are really running right now is because of large governments' insatiable demand to print more money.
Okay.
And the pandemic exacerbated that.
Okay.
So the U.S. alone printed another $3+ trillion. You got money, we got money, everybody gets money. People got money for not working, they got money for working, the employers got money to pay their people to not work. It's the most unbelievable, extraordinary time in our lives, financially speaking. And we now are, when I started teaching this 15 years ago, the U.S. national debt was $6 trillion. It's now over 30 trillion.
Wow.
5x in 15 years.
Wow.
And it's, if you liken it to a family household, it's like constantly opening up a new credit card.
Yeah.
And eventually that runs out.
Right.
So that's what that is. And NFTs, I view that as owning digital assets. That's what it is.
Okay.
And you earn the rights to use those. And my favorite NFT that was sold is the Charlie Bit My Finger YouTube video. You remember that one?
Yes.
Charlie Bit My Finger.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That video, those boys now are like late teenagers. And they sold the video for $600,000.
Oh my.
Because they're like, we can cash this out. And the people who have the Charlie Bit My Finger video now they have it. It got taken down off YouTube.
Okay.
And now the new owner can now use that in various settings and generate the revenue for themselves off of ads and that sort of thing. I think that's the easiest way to understand the use of an NFT. It is digital assets.
Okay. So you and I were talking, you've got more content available for someone who's like, hey, I want to know more about crypto. I want to know more about this. And I don't want to miss this because our time is short, but I like, how does someone, you've got a treasure trove.
Yeah.
I haven't said trove in a
Good
while.
job.
I haven't either.
That's awesome.
Okay. You've got a bunch of content that I think is helpful for marriages, that's helpful for anybody. Where do they go? How do they find all that stuff?
I would say the easiest way is just Google I was broke now I'm not and look at our website iwasbrokenowimnot.com.
Cool.
And free tools is located there. We have over 100 free financial tools, calculators, budget templates, debt calculators, things like that. And then we also have a membership community called fullyfunded.life.
Okay.
And that's where somebody who wants help for their whole money journey, including personal 30-minute coaching appointments,
Wow.
they can join that for as little as $99 a year.
Okay.
And be able to get access to a bunch of financial training as well as challenges, and then access to a coach to be able to help them
Nice.
with particular financial challenges.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you this. I know I'm redundant on this, man, but leading a church, being a part of a church, one of the things I've learned is there are people who will live at a distance from you and that need to still be a part of what you're doing and where you're at, even though you live in South Carolina, which I've lived there before. But it's a blessing. You have blessed our church over and over and over. You bring in a fresh voice and a fresh understanding. And there are a lot of people who want to give information to people. You love the local church. And I know you want people to not just like be good at finances. In your heart, I know this is you want people to know who Jesus is, and you believe in what the local church is doing. And so I just want to tell you thank you. Thanks for investing.
I appreciate it. And I just want to express my thanks to each of you, on taking a chance on us the first time and then the continued invites back. It's allowed us, I've always said, we try to create moments for people, inspirational moments that plant a seed, and we really want them to hear truth, but we want a strong dose of encouragement, hope, and the love in which it's delivered. But it starts a journey.
Yes.
And the journey continues until you pass on from this earth, this money journey, your spiritual journey. And being able to be a part of people's journeys.
Yeah.
And I'm out in the lobby yesterday and people are coming out and telling me their updates.
Cool.
And it's just so rewarding to know these people, to build relationships, as you say, at a distance. But many of them have been on Facebook and just see people winning and celebrating those wins. Man, that is so rewarding. Thanks for letting us be a part of it.
Love it. Love
It's
it.
an
Love it.
Well, our 18-year-old is coming tonight.
Yeah.
Get fired up.
And he made the decision too, which I think is awesome. But he has heard from us and knows. And I think what I love about the ministry that you do is people will come every time you come because it's always new and fresh and it's evolving. Their journey is evolving, and I love that because there's no end to it.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
right. And that's what we always say. And I keep a record of every financial learning experience I've delivered, every message I've ever delivered. And I always challenge myself to say, have we improved? Have we upped our game? Are we incorporating the new stuff, the cryptocurrency, the NFT, the stuff that is challenging us today?
Yeah.
There are certain rules that are principles. They're in God's word. They're unchanging.
Yeah.
But the way those are lived out, those change all the time. In biblical times, didn't have digital bank accounts. That did not exist.
True.
You know what? And when you came and gave to church, you brought your ox. It probably wasn't delivered quietly. And it changed.
Oh, that's good.
And so we want to make sure we're modifying when we switch from the ox to the gold coin to whatever it might be next.
Cool.
Yeah.
We hope to be able to be there to deliver right now relevant, helpful information.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, I hope the conversation has been beneficial to those of you watching, listening. Hopefully you'll keep tuning in. We love you very much. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.
Jump off the fence.